Well, hello. Today we're going to do a little pen rodeo that was suggested by a viewer, viewer Sajad Hussein. I hope I pronounced that right. And he suggested comparing the Waterman Carène with the Waterman Exception. Definitely two very different pens, but at a very similar price point. So let's take a look at them. All right, so this is the Waterman Hemisphere. I'm sorry, no, it isn't. This is the Waterman Carène and the Waterman Exception. So both stand out as with having a very particular shape. The Waterman Exception is a square pen. Even the section is square. So I thought this would be a problem, but it actually turns out to fit my grip comfortably, even though it's not quite the tripod grip that the Lamy 2000 promotes. We've got some doodads on that finial, no doodads on that finial, and here, a little bit of branding. Overall, I think it's pretty subtle. The Waterman Carène, let me get this right. The Waterman Carène is supposed to kind of evoke a boat. So you have the front of the boat, which I forget what it's called. You've got the slanty downy part at the back of the boat. All very nice. Has a very attractive finish. There's several finishes, so, and then it has the infamous inlaid nib. Infamous inlaid nib. Wow, words are hard. I found a broad. Broads are very hard to find. Mostly you can find them in medium or fine. So I feel lucky to have found it. Uncap both pens. And you can see that the section on the Waterman Carène is longer. Having an inlaid nib makes that possible. And I'd say maybe a little bit bigger around where you would actually grip it. This exception section, wow, oh, words are hard. This exception section just kind of tapers down there, and, that's how it is. So, how do they write? Well, let's find out. I think it goes without saying that we're not exactly comparing apples to oranges. Two different nibs. So let's not compare that, but let's think about things like how does it feel in the hand. So the Waterman Exception has Mont Blanc Black. I think it's going very smoothly over the paper. There is not flex in this nib. I suppose if you squint, maybe you can see a little bit of line variation, but not really. It's wet enough. I actually was using this as a daily writer. I'm kind of on the last dregs of my ink right now. It's a cartridge converter filler. Both pens are. So we got our smear test, wetness and flow. This pen has very nice flow. I enjoy using this pen as a daily writer. Reverse writing. A very ultra extra fine, but surprisingly well performing one. And finally, the world famous Pierre Gustafson test. Which, of course, it passed with flying colors. I've found that a lot of my pens actually pass that test with flying colors. Make of that what you will. So let's go over to the Waterman Carène side. Of course, I had to put Lamy bronze in this. A more shading ink, of course. Flex. No, not on this pen. I don't know if it's my imagination, but I see a little line variation. I don't know if it's real or not, but I see it. Smear test. Yeah, pretty wet. Wetness and flow. This is a fun pen, I'll admit that. Wetness and flow. Oh yeah. Reverse writing. Ew. It's kind of scratchy. It's a very ultra extra fine and very scratchy. I don't like it. And of course, the world famous Peer Gustafson test. I think it passed that one with flying colors. And again, a lot of my pens do. He originally invented the test to talk about the differences between vintage and modern pens, but a lot of modern pens actually write very well. All right, so it was the Waterman Hemisphere. Oh, I'm sorry, it was not the Waterman Hemisphere. So that was the Waterman Exception and the Waterman Carène. Two pens about the same price point. Two pens that I'm very happy writing with. So which one would I give the edge to? Well, one thing, it's not an apples to apples because one is a broad nib, one is a fine nib. Both are cartridge converter pens, which, whatever. Both are snap caps, which I do appreciate. One is square, which is definitely unique in my collection. The other one is not. The Carène has a very artistic design behind it, kind of a boat design. It's supposed to be evocative of some kind of a boat, whereas the Exception is, square. Exception is actually comfortable to hold. I think the square design does work well for it. I think both write very well. I was pleased with the amount of ink it lays down and so on. They are both proven to be very reliable pens. Both heavy metal pens, not punk rock heavy metal, but heavy metal. I'm really struggling. I will say this. My favorite is the Carène, just because of that artistic vision. It's a very well thought out design. My only complaint with it was way back when I first got it, because I got it used. You can get the ship thing, the slanted finial, out of alignment with the nib if you undo certain parts inside. So when I first got it, mine was out of alignment, so I had to spend quite a lot of time, and it wasn't easy getting it aligned again, so I did not appreciate that. If I bought it new, I would assume that would not be an issue. Don't know, but I would assume that would not be an issue. Exception has no such problem. Exception goes with its square thing and makes it work, and it is a good pen. So, which one would I buy? Again, I think the Carène. I like that. I like that nib. I have a medium. I switched to the broad because that just made it more fun. But I had a medium, and I used it as a writer from time to time. And perfectly good nib. I think the fine would be perfectly good. I would be curious to see my feelings on the Exception with a broad nib. But as far as looks and feel in the hand, I still think that the Carène is the winner. So, yeah. You can get by on your looks sometimes, and that's what the Carène is doing. So, that's what I have to say about that. So, thank you for watching, and let us know down in the comments if you've tried both, which is your favorite. So, thank you for watching. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.